Hey yo, what's the flavor with my favorite people, the Chico Army? And if you heard and you're interested in joining that crew, take the first step, subscribe, and drop the title of Viewer of the Tube. My name's Tyler, the host of the channel, whose crypto content is hardcore irresistible. You know our cat scratch creamer. It's time for Chico Crypto. Today it's all about Ethereum, as the protocol is set to become the first blockchain to settle $1 trillion in just a year, with the amount versus Bitcoin growing since 2016, and the actual flip and annual transactional settlement coming this year, 2020. Ethereum is now the most utilized public blockchain. It's cementing itself right now as the crypto settlement layer. But right now is also the time to prove it can be the global settlement layer. So many people think it's just Ethereum, Vitalik and his friend developers that are going to be the ones that do this. But one group, one community, even one kingdom cannot do everything on their own. They need to form strategic allies. They need help. They need friends. So who exactly are the friends of Ethereum? Those that are here to help it grow into what it should become, the global settlement layer. Well, you gotta look at it like this. What exactly does Ethereum need to even become the de facto crypto settlement layer? Well, number one, it needs to scale. Number two, it needs a good data availability layer. Number three, it needs decentralized oracles. Number four, it needs privacy. Number five, it needs critical DeFi infrastructure. And number six, it needs critical DAO infrastructure. And this week, I feel like maybe covering it all day by day. So first, let's talk about number one, scaling. I'm sure you heard last week that the deposit contract for the Ethereum Beacon chain was delayed, coming in 2 weeks. Danny Ryan, Ethereum 2.0 researcher, dropped the news. So scaling Ethereum right now is that much more important because every delay equals more time users and dApps are suffering from the exorbitant transaction fees. So what's being done? Well, on the exchange side of things for token transfers, the DEX and even the Centralized, we have scaling right frickin' now. Loopring is a non-custodial DEX protocol that utilizes ZK rollups to achieve 2000 plus TPS. But again, this is only for token transfers. But this means DEXs, if they'd like to, they can scale right now. And the same goes with centralized exchanges. And another way for token transfers with Plasma and Childchains. OMG Network and Bitfinex have partnered to put Tether's value transfer on the exchange through the OMG Network scaling and saving them on gas fees. But again, only for token transfers and value exchange. Scaling that is critical, and both of these projects are friends of Ethereum. But scaling involves more than just token transfers, as we know. We need to put the full basket of generalized smart contracts on layer 2, which has largely eluded developers so far. So will Childchains and Plasma scale smart contracts ever? I don't think so, because if you didn't know, the group behind Plasma and a lot of its research was the Plasma Group. In January of this year, they halted the research, saying it had reached maturity. What did Plasma Group rebrand to? Optimistic Ethereum. And they are on to new beginnings by trying to scale smart contracts with optimistic rollups. So you guys, I'm optimistic on optimistic, but when you look into their optimistic launch article, you start to realize that many scaling solutions and dApps are going to have to wait for this to scale themselves. And I've shown it before, a generalized optimistic rollup for smart contracts is not ready. Going down to the donors of Optimistic Ethereum, we can see it's the Ethereum Foundation, MiseGo, Consensus, Matic, and even Uniswap is there as a collaborator or contributor. From OMG Networks, Childchain, and Plasma to Matic sidechain to Uniswap, these projects are all relying on this team to succeed and deliver, and hopefully soon. So Rollups, where are they on the roadmap exactly? Well, with Optimistic Ethereum, theirs is in an extremely limited testnet trial experiment with another project who is relying on them, Synthetix. they have went into their second testnet, where they're testing just migration from layer 1 to layer 2 rollup. And they say this will be an important part of the eventual mainnet launch. The keyword there is eventual, as in I don't see it coming anytime within the next 6 months. So what about ZK rollups, another type of rollup? Well, Loopring is in the same boat as OMG. They scaled token transfers and created a DEX protocol. But there is more from Matter Labs with ZK Sync. This has the Zinc framework and the Zinc Aleph testnet, which allows zero-knowledge proofs of smart contract execution right now. But Zinc, it's written in its own programming language, Zinc. And we know creating a development barrier is a bad decision, and smart contract creation should follow Solidity to a T, which it can't because Zinc currently is non-Turing complete. Will it work for them? That's still to be seen. But regarding this development barrier, Kane Warwick, founder of Synthetix, put out a blog post on why they chose optimistic Ethereum compared with other solutions. In it he says, given the constraints around being able to maintain a single code base during the transition period, most of the solutions above are immediately ruled out. Sure, many claim to be EVM compatible, but this isn't as easy as it sounds. We can essentially rule out the following: fast blockchains, ZK rollups, Lightning, state channels, and Plasma. Even if ZK rollups progressed at a breakneck pace, all variations currently require rewriting contracts in a new language. Now this leads me into xDai, and some of you are going to be like, oh no, not again, Tyler. But this is an argument against it. In Kane's blog, after rolling out other scaling solutions, he says, this leaves us with sidechains and optimistic rollups. We ruled out sidechains like xDai, given we would be requiring hundreds of millions of dollars worth of asset security immediately, and then orders of magnitude above this in the future. Flame me, please. So they didn't want to go with xDai because of the issue with centralization of assets on a sidechain, hundreds of millions right now, as xDai is currently an Aura proof of authority consensus with 10 validator nodes. Although the validator list for xDai is currently fully public. We can see who it is, known entities in the space: POA, aka xDai, Maker Foundation, Protofire, Giveth, Portis, SyncNode, Lab10, AnyBlock Analytics, Gnosis, Galt, and Nethermind. So I get it, Synthetix is a large financial product already, 8th largest on DeFi Pulse, with over $577 million of assets locked into the faith of the product. That's a lot of money to trust to a proof of authority based network and those nodes to act honestly. But the more I dive into this, the more I realize that this in actuality just comes down to politics once again. And let me try to explain. So optimistic Ethereum, it's what Uniswap, Synthetix, Matic, and more are relying on. But if you didn't know, optimistic Ethereum is going to heavily rely on something else: the OMG network, its child chain structure, and its staking. Rollups in design are actually very similar to Plasma, as they use a child chain, and the layer 2 nodes bond assets and receive rewards kind of like a stake. Now here's what confuses me. Optimistic Ethereum, who helped OMG with Plasma, said this back when they were still Plasma Group. They were halting research because it reached maturity. But the child chain Plasma structure hasn't reached full maturity, as you can see from a user asking in their subreddit 2 months ago about the details of their tech for the Reddit scaling bake-off submission. They ask who the operator is, who the watchers are. And Amisego replies. They say there is only one operator in the current OMG network design. The operator is OMG themselves. The network, however, is non-custodial and trustless. So despite a lack of block producer decentralization, a user funds are always safe from malicious intent, both in terms of the operator and the compromised chain. The watchers can currently be ran by anyone who would like to aid in network security, e.g. anyone with a vested interest in a secure chain, such as adopters. Eventually, the watcher network will move over to a proof of guarantee model, whereby a stake of OMG tokens will be required to run one, and they provide a link to watcher documentation, but not a link to a watcher list. So, watchers are not incentivized right now. There's no incentivization to do it. There is no staking. So in actuality, there probably isn't many watchers, and most of them are the OMG team themselves and a few community members. And guess what consensus that operator block producer is using for the OMG child chain? Well, going into their documentation and blockchain design, well, it's a non-P2P proof of authority network. So, a centralized single block producer that uses proof of authority with no incentivized watchers, making sure everything is A-OK. Who would want to go on that? Only someone like Bitfinex. Watcher incentivization is key. Watchers check for blocks that are submitted to the root chain. They pull the Merkle proof from the operator and then validate that the transactions that are supposed to have happened have indeed happened. The watchers thus can identify nefarious behavior by the operator, including if it becomes unavailable or if the blocks are being withheld or if the transactions are manipulated, and they flag all funds on the plasma chain to be withdrawn back to Ethereum. This is called the mass exit. But if there is no incentivization to do this, watch that operator who is doing it. I'm sure just the OMG team and a few community members, aka it's centralized, and you're putting your trust into watchers who have no financial incentive to protect you. And if Plasma's child chain structure is like this, and there are no multi-operators, no staking with the watchers, then where the freak is the OVM with the bonded aggregators, their roll-up chain? How centralized is that really going to be when it comes out? OMG and Plasma was supposed to be so much more decentralized with its launch. But the more you read into the fine print, the more you realize that it hasn't fully reached maturity. So I feel politics largely come into play with a lot of decisions even within Ethereum. Vitalik, he put his faith into Plasma, and now Rollups. He is connected to OMG. He is connected to optimistic Ethereum. Vitalik has sway, and thus Uniswap and Synthetix are going to wait for Rollups, even though they may not be as decentralized as they hope at launch. Why not scale right now with xDai, who also has a plan for full decentralization with the launch of PosDAO, which methinks will happen before mainnet rollups. Who knows why they're going to wait, but cheers, I'll see you next time.